everybody, Enter the Stars. Kind of a surprise live show this morning. Excuse me. Try to catch some of my brothers and sisters in the United Kingdom. I know you guys have some pretty big pedophilia problems and issues going back decades. I figured I'd record this live show, get it up. I also like to surprise the New World Order because they definitely like to create problems for us when we go live. And many of you have experienced that. I'm going to go ahead and get started, you guys. This will publish. Please share the link. I see Behold He Cometh with Clouds, Gary Baxter. Guleum777, thanks you guys for showing up. For those of you that are either night owls that might be still up from the day before, or up early like myself. I'm an early riser. I did go to bed late last night, but just couldn't sleep with all this stuff. Guys, I'm going to cover something that a subscriber sent to me. This is unbelievable. The Pedophile Information Exchange. It stands for PI, just like a pizza pie. We are slowly getting more information on all of this pizza stuff. We're having to do a citizen's investigation because the authorities are not doing their job. And therefore, we're having to piece together all of this evidence in order to protect our children. This is unbelievable because every parent in this country should be given all of this information that we're having to dig up and find ourselves. Every parent should be given a book on all of this code language. Why are not parents given these symbols, like the triangle symbol that stands for little boy? Or why are they not told that pizza means little girl? Why are parents having not given this information to protect their children if the FBI already knows what this stuff means? Do you see my point here? Do you see my point? We are not protecting our children, and neither are the authorities. If you go over a man's house and he's got pedo symbols all over it, and you're a parent that just doesn't even know what those pedo symbols mean, you are not going to be given the information that you need to protect your children. And you have to find it out on a YouTube channel in 2016 when this stuff has been around for ages. Close some of these windows up, you guys, so we can keep this rolling. Now, what is the Pedophile Information Exchange? This is a British acronym. It was a pro-pedophile activist group. Now you know why they use pizza pie to describe little girls, because it is the acronym for the Pedophile Information Exchange. I'm going to read a little bit into this. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I've got some points pulled out of here. It was founded in 1974 and officially disbanded in 1984. It was described by the BBC in 2007 as an international organization of people who trade obscene material. Okay, so the BBC described it in 2007. This was long after they went underground, because it says here they were disbanded in 84, but yet the BBC was commenting on this in 2007. PI was set up as a special interest group with the Scottish Minorities Group by founding member Michael Hansen, who became the group's first chairman, since the majority of inquiries were from England. In 1975, PI relocated to London, where 23-year-old Keith Hose became chairman. The group's stated aim was to alleviate the suffering of many adults and children by campaigning to abolish the age of consent, thus legalizing sex between adults and children. This is the aim, you guys, of these pedophiles, to abolish the age of consent, so that they're no longer having sex with children. They're going to be calling 10-year-old children adults. Pull this over here. Let's pull this watch page over here. I've got some bombs to drop this early in the morning. I didn't do this show because in this early hour because it's not important. This is a very important show. I'm going to show you some of the most damning evidence that we've come across when it comes to this stuff, you guys. Now, there are some misconceptions that are abounding out there about pedophiles. People are trying to say that pedophilia and homosexuality have no connection. Well, the largest pedophile ring in pretty much history, the P.I.E, begs to differ. It says here, the Pedophile Action for Liberation had developed as a breakaway group from the South London Gay Liberation Front. So this major group, P.I.E, actually broke away from a gay group. I'm not saying all people that are gay are pedophiles. What I'm saying is the pedophiles we have are typically gay men, and we've been told that that was not the case. We've been told that that's not true, but it absolutely is true. So again, we have more cover-ups so that we cannot protect our children. Because you think, oh, a guy is gay, he's probably safe. He's safe to allow my children around. And that's not necessarily the case. Again, this group sprang out of the London Gay Liberation Front. It was the subject of an article in the Sunday People, which dedicated its front page and center spread to the story, headlined "The Vilest Men in Britain." The result was intimidation, loss of employment for some of those who were exposed. It later merged with P.I.E. This expose on POW had an effect on P.I.E.'s members' willingness for activism. Now, I'm going to fast forward down this article because it's a long article. We're going to focus on some of this other stuff. Originally, people did the right thing, and they denied these people access to infiltrate their communities. They canceled their hotel reservations, protested them. This magazine they had was called the Magpie, Magazine Pie, Magpie. So that's another code word we can look for. Maybe some of you can go to wikileaks.org and type in Magpie. Actually, we might do that live. Now, all of their attempts were at lowering the age of consent, okay? And they did this publicly for quite some time. But here's what I want you to recognize here. Down here in this article, it says Wilson and Cox went on to use the data in writing their book, The Child Lovers. What does this remind you of? Chicken lovers. This was one of the images surrounding Jimmy Comet and all his little friends. They showed a baby, and they had the caption, Chicken Lovers. Now, if you're not sickened by this, or if you're not alarmed by this, you think I'm connecting dots that aren't there, you should probably unsubscribe from this channel. Because this is what we do. We read between the lines. We call people to account. Now, this goes deep because, let's take a look here. I'll pull this guy up. This is Tom O'Carroll. He was part of this P.I.E organization. Let me do a page search to see exactly where this guy shows up. All right, so it says here, in 1978, Glenn Wilson and David Cox approached O'Carroll with a request to study the P.I.E membership. A meeting was held with P.I.E leadership to vet the survey instruments after approval. These were distributed to P.I.E members in the course of their regular mailing. Now, we're going to go down a rabbit hole with this because all this is connected.
I believe it, man.
1981, the former P.I.E chairman Tom O'Carroll was convicted on the conspiracy charge and sentenced to 2 years in prison. O'Carroll had been working on pedophilia, a radical case in the period between the initial police raid and the trial. So there were police raids, trials, While the charges did not relate in any way to the publication of the book, the fact that he had written it was listed by the judge as a factor in determining the length of his sentence. This goes on. The former chair of P.I.E, Tom O'Carroll, so he was the chairperson of P.I.E. So if this name means anything to you guys, pops up in relation to any of the current events that we're dealing with, please let me know. I'll be back in the chat in a minute, you guys. So this goes on. Now this man, he's still alive. Let's see here. He's 71 years old. And his occupation is pedophilia advocate. People are just hiding in plain sight. This goes on a little bit about his history. So I started doing a little digging. Now that we have the keys, right? And I looked up and found P.I.E, right? The pizza shop. Now, welcome to P.I.E Pizzeria. This is in Washington, D.C. Actually, let me go in the chat real quick. Let me close some of these windows. Go to the chat, make sure. So you guys always have good stuff to share. Real Sweet says, wonder what's in those KFC spices. Let's take a look here. Zara's in the house. Karen finally caught a live show. That's why I kind of try to pop on different times, you guys. Yeah, people have been asking me to take a look at Home Alone. I already copyright claiming my Eyes Wide Shut. If you guys have not seen that, I uploaded that late last night. They show a little girl being molested by two Chinese men in the movie Eyes Wide Shut. Simply unbelievable. Here's the tweet I just sent out. And let's see here. Here it is.
You can see right there. Saving humanity, like.
And actually show. Let's see if we can pull this up real quick here. Screenshots from Eyes Wide Shut and the whole pizza thing. He goes to see a prostitute named Domino. And also girls molested in film Eyes Wide Shut. They show it. Now, of course, the girl is probably of legal age. Who knows? Or maybe she wasn't. 1999 is when the film came out. She looked like a pretty popular actress. I don't like Twitter. How do I open this? This is it right here. Oh. Okay, let's take a look at this. Links. Just wanted to show you guys the screenshots that I took of this. Here it is. Gentlemen, have you no decency? Milich, this is Milich. He walks in. Milich is Moloch. He walks in under the arch. The arch of a rainbow, but it's really the arch of Bell, which is a pizza oven. If you look at all pizza ovens, they're arches. This is it. Here's the two Chinese men, the young girl. He says she's just a child later in the scene. I zoomed it in. Here's the pizza. Totally out of context. Pizza surrounded by Chinese food. This is the below. The above is the two Chinese men. Below, Chinese food. Above, Chinese men. Below, pizza. Above, little girl. Chinese men, pizza. Later, Tom Cruise goes to see this prostitute, and her name is Domino. I don't know what this is, maybe a pie. Yeah, it's a pie. There you go. Pizza and pie. In the film Eyes Wide Shut. And in plain sight, all these years, all these people looking at this film trying to decode it. Nobody ever saw this. Ask yourself why. So you guys, click on this, make it viral, so people can see this. They're not going to be able to run from this forever. let's get back to our rabbit hole here because this is unbelievable. Pedophile information exchange. Sophie says, this freaked me out, and I saw the video uploaded with this earlier. Jimmy Savile had over 400 victims of rape, says the real MWJ. American Pie. That should be a film that I should decode too. So I found this Washington, D.C. pie. Now, this is nuts because I'm going to show you something that is unbelievable once again. And I've been looking at this and looking at this going, there's got to be something in George Bush's eyebrows. Pull this up in iPad Go 2. I just saw something. Eyebrows. And I was like, what is it? There's something in the eyebrows of George Bush in iPad Go 2. And I couldn't figure it out. And it just kept bothering me. Well, I think we figured it out. Let's click on this. I'm not going to play very much of it because they'll copyright us. Let's see where it pops into. Okay, here's Bush. Let's put this in HD. And we're going to take a look at his, when he zooms in, when they zoom in on him here. Something strange happens. This is going to play for us. Got some windows open. Let's keep this going, you guys. Starts dancing around. We're going to zoom on it in on his face. Oops. Go back here. Bear with me, you guys. This is going to be well worth it. Grab a cup of coffee, maybe. Grab mine in a minute here. Okay. You see that? What you see in his right eyebrow? Is that pi? Is that the R symbol for pi? I don't know. Maybe a stretch. I figure I'd put it out there. Let's get going. So this is a Washington, D.C. pie shop called P.I.E. Let's look in here. There's the 88 on the license plate on the left. You guys probably saw that already. It says, welcome to P.I.E Pizzeria, home of the irrationally delicious deep dish and thin cornmeal crust pizza and prime craft beers. We're stoked to be in the neighborhood. Doing right by our neighbors is important to us, which means making the tastiest pizzas with the freshest ingredients around. Taking care of our awesome team by paying a higher minimum wage. Minimizing our carbon footprint with sustainable purchases and practices, and giving back to you guys, our neighbors. Now, a theme that I've noticed about all of these pie pizza places is that they're all into this sustainable, local, it seems to be a common theme, which seems to give them away. Just think about this. Most pizza places, it's all about, I mean, the pizza is basically one of the most unhealthiest things you can eat. So when you see a trend, a thread of pizza shops who are all about the environment, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying it connects them all together. Okay. So look up this pie shop. We're going down the rabbit hole here, and I pull up their shop, and here is the arch. We keep seeing this arch. Okay, it's like the Arch of Baal. Now, I'm not telling you guys to go and arrest these people. That's not what this is about. We're simply going down a rabbit hole, trying to get to the truth. I don't want you guys going on there and making posts and negative posts, okay? Because we don't know yet what this is about.
We'll find
simply
out.
Try to connect the dots.
Exactly.
But here again, we see
It's all
the
about
arch.
getting to the truth.
Molech. If you look at pictures of Moloch, you will see that this is not a stretch. to understand that when they sacrificed their children to Moloch in the fire, Moloch was also Baal, the arch. I hope you guys are still with me on this, but basically he's depicted as having somewhat of a pizza oven. I mean, look at this. This isn't funny. I'm not trying to make a joke. This is real. This is the real meaning of a wood-fired pizza oven, okay? Whoever came up with this as a joke or hiding in plain sight knew exactly what they were doing, you guys. Here's Baal. Here's his pizza oven, wood-fired pizza oven. This is real. It was actually mentioned in the film, what was the name of that film? This was actually a screenshot from a very old film that I decoded, actually. It was called, not Millennium, it was one of the first science fiction films ever. And if you guys could help me out in the chat. But basically, they had a giant statue of Moloch, and they actually say Moloch in the 1920s film. Here it is here. I can remember the name of the film off the top of my head. Here's a scene from it with the Moloch pizza, right? Because the pizza is the pentagram too. It's Pan. Pan is synonymous with the pentagram and the god of sensuality, sexuality.
Looks
right?
like the guy from Back to the Future.
This is called Metropolis, actually. Just popped into my head. Here's Moloch. And the people march into the fire. Why do I keep saying don't sacrifice your children to Moloch in the fire? Because that is what it says in the Bible. Do not sacrifice your children to Moloch in the fire. Okay? This is what they're talking about. This is it right here. Let's keep this going. Because Obama went to P.I.E.'s sister restaurant in St. Louis.
Huh.
P.I.E. Remember, P.I.E. stands for Pedophile Information Exchange. Hold on, you guys, just a second. Take a quick break. During campaign stop last fall in St. Louis, President Barack Obama said he loved the pizza from P.I.E. on the Del Mar Loop. He loved it so much that he wants seconds. So he invited P.I.E.'s owner to the White House to make some more pies. So what's the problem, Casey? Owner Chris Summers and partner Ryan Mangialardo, and let's blow this up. Sorry, guys. There's some of you on phones. Make this type bigger. Plan to make 10 deep dish and 10 thin crust pizzas for the Obamas on Friday, said Corey Watkins, a kitchen manager for the restaurant, which opened a year ago. Why is very pro-Obama, Watkins said, who said Obama staffers stay at his house. After the collection, we served a broccoli Obama pizza. Summers' restaurant has garnered some attention from other celebrities as well. Is very busy delivering pizzas to actor George Clooney and the cast and crew of Up in the Air, which are still filming in St. Louis. He was preparing for his trip to Washington. He was also preparing for his trip to Washington, D.C. I'm going to show you something that's unbelievable. Because, according to that article, these guys were well on their way to Washington, D.C., right? Did they ever make it? See the date of this article here. This was in 2009. Now, according to whitehouse.gov, 2009 was the year that they began posting all the visitors that would come to the White House, okay? So they may or may not be listed here because this was like the cutoff. 2009 was the cutoff. I'm going to search their names. Ready, Chris Summers here. No, there's a Jody Summers. Why did her name come up when I typed in Chris Summers? That's weird. But they came in 2013, so it was long after. Probably not the same person. How about this other guy? Did he visit the White House? Ryan Mangialardo. Take a look. And there's no Ryan Mangialardo. So either this article is lying, and these guys really didn't go to the White House in 2009, or they were outside of the dates of the Freedom of Information Act required that all visitors to the White House were listed, okay, which is why we were able to go to the website and search for that. So I kept digging. And in this article, there is a man mentioned who introduced Obama to P.I.E pizza. His name is Reggie Love. Summers met Obama in 2007 at a fundraiser in St. Louis, where he also met basketball star Reggie Love, who became one of Obama's aides. Now, many of you remember Reggie Love. He's the guy I always picture with Obama playing basketball. It's like Obama's personal basketball player that he plays with. When Obama held a rally under the Gateway Arch of Baal, remember? Moloch. When Obama held a rally under the Gateway Arch last fall, Summers asked Love if Obama wanted to try P.I.E pizza. Apparently, the president has been talking about it ever since. So, who is Reggie Love? Well, we're deep in the rabbit hole now. And I looked up Reggie Love to see if he had any pedophilia connections. Remember, this is all code word. Pedophilia information exchange. P.I.E. And I was simply blown away. Reggie Love left the White House. You want to know why he left the White House? It says here, the fallout from Penn State has universities and colleges across the nation checking their records for indications of child abuse and other sex scandals. The Citadel is now embroiled in a scandal involving child sexual abuse by summer camp counselor. Here's the key words here, past gay-orientated sex parties at Duke and the University of North Carolina involving then Duke basketball and football player Reggie Love reportedly cost him his job as the President Obama's body man. De facto White House Chief of Staff Pete Rouse, upon hearing of potential problems regarding Love at Duke and UNC, and on the heels of the scandal at Penn State, forced Love to leave the White House staff immediately, even over the objections of Obama. So there you have it in black and white. This is Reggie Love. He had a history at Penn State. They're trying to say it was about a gay sex parties. But I have a feeling that it was mostly about the children. They would have never kicked him out of the White House for just being at gay sex parties. Trust me. This is the first gay president, the first president to be sympathetic to gay people. If people knew he kicked this guy out, actually, he objected to it. Obama objected to it. But if they knew that the Obama administration had kicked this guy out for being gay at a gay sex party, he would have gotten backlash from the gay community. There was more to this, and that's why they had to put in here that Obama objected to it. That's why they had to put that in here. Now, this is real journalism. Finding the stories and links, reading between the lines. I'm putting the link here in the chat, you guys, so you guys can look at the article yourself. This is real journalism, actually investigating something, looking in the past. And this is what we do, but it gets deeper. Now, we just showed you that these guys went to the White House, but there's no record of them going to the White House. So I start digging deeper because, you know, I figure there's got to be more information on this. Then I find all this weird stuff. I find this tweet from Obama. Some people prefer cake. I like pie. He tweeted this on his birthday, August 4th in 2014. On his birthday, he tweeted, I like pie. Now, we need the activists out there to search through all the responses in here to see if there's any pedophilia responses, right? If someone says, I like pie too, and we look and they're like, you know, got children and all this stuff on their channel, or if someone says, no, I like hot dogs instead, you know, this is the kind of stuff we're looking for. This is real journalism. I can't do it alone. We need all eyes on it. I'm going to put this in the chat so you guys can search through the tweet and see if there's any weirdos responding to Obama about his comment about liking pie instead of cake. We're going to actually look at some of these. Okay, some kind of chef here, seeing as I made your cake. So this guy's like, see what this guy says. This is like some kind of baker. Keith Law says, damn right. Let's read through some of these. Maybe one of these will pop out. I'm not sure the context around which Obama made this statement and tweeted this, but it sounds fishy. You think that's an appropriate reaction to a comment that pie is better than cake? Let's look at some of these here. Impeach. What about cheese? There you go. Cheese pizza. Right there. Remember, cheese is the code word. One of the code words, right? Who's this guy? Toby. So, you know, wow. Cheese makes me vomit. I never, ever, under any condition, eat it. Even the smell makes me nauseous. So Rob knows something, possibly. What does cheese have to do with a pie? Well, now we know. Burn them at the stake. I don't want to read through too much of this live because it's going to be a bunch of empty air, but you guys get the hint of what we're looking for, okay? Look through this a tweet about Obama loving pie instead of cake. And something is going to pop out. Maybe even some open pedophiles. Okay, and I'll take the time to do that. If I find anything, I'll be back on here, as you guys know. This goes deep, keeps going, because also Obama says, I like pie. You like pie too? It's another video. See, let's get into this. When did this upload? Can't play too much of it. October 16, 2008, beginning of his presidency. He might even have still been on the campaign trail.
And they didn't have sweet potato pie. They didn't have, you go in there, we say, all right, what kind of pie you got? So we go in there.
So that's what's going on. He's making pie references several different times throughout his presidency. Here's another time, fast forward to 2014, in which he talks about pie, the White House pie, being so good that it tasted like crack. The pie recipe so addictive, President Obama calls it crack. Now remember, I know I'm repeating myself, you guys. Some of you are just coming on the show. PI stands for Pedophilia Information Exchange. We know that. This is going back to the 80s. Many people have forgotten this. If they wouldn't have forgotten it, they would have, this would have been a big red flag as it relates to pizza and this whole Pizzagate scandal. Okay? East Side Pies in Austin, Texas, there's much more to that than meets the eye. Otherwise, they would have called it East Side Pizza, right? ESP, it's the same word. But instead, they use the word pie. And their logo is, their tagline is, "We know what you want." Now, it's a play on words because ESP is like reading minds, but it's also a play on words that possibly that they are some kind of undercover, you know, advocates for pedophilia information exchange. Now, this keeps going because they talk about the pie crust. At Monday's LGBT Pride Month reception at the White House, Obama saluted the retiring Yasses and blamed him as pies. I don't know what he does, but he puts crack in them, joked Obama. I just saying this, we first came to the White House the first year, my cholesterol shot up, and the doctor was like, "What happened?" And I thought, it's the pie, it's the pie. You see the connection here, LGBT, pedophilia information exchange. It's all linked in together. Now, let's get back to this. What other pie references did I find related to Obama? Let's look at some images of Obama eating pie. See if we see any weirdness in here. There's this fascination with pie and pizza, symbols of these occult symbols of the community. Now, many of these pizza owners may be innocent, but some are not. I guarantee you that some are not. Obama's using them. This is called voodoo. It's occult voodoo, okay? They basically play out and act out their belief system in plain sight. And somehow it's like voodoo. It's like a voodoo doll. So when they act it out, they're actually creating this scenario by which they're going to either murder somebody or whatever. They act it out. And then it's like sticking the pins in a voodoo doll, as far as I can tell. So that's Obama, his pie references. Now, we're about done here, you guys. So I dig deeper. And I see, here's the Washington Post. They love, you know, putting this stuff in here. Let's make this one smaller. This is too big. There's Obama eating his pie. Washington Post says, President Obama celebrated Pie Day. Falls on March 14th. Like, this was actually earlier this year, 2016. It falls on March 14th like the mathematical constant, like many Americans with a slice of pie. So he celebrated Pie Day with a slice of pie. I'm not too concerned about this, other than the fact that I identified a lie in this story. Unlike most other pastries being devoured by math nerds across the land, the president had some significance baked into the recipe. The White House Facebook page on Monday featured a picture of Obama grinning and holding a forkful that hails from the Red Truck Bakery in Marshall, Virginia. Along with the photo, Obama posted a letter that bakery owner Brian Noyes had written to him in January. Now, as you read this story, I want you to consider this Brian Noyes owner. And I want you to tell me, and I'll go back in the chat, get your opinion. Based on reading this, does it sound like Obama knew this person before this story in 2016? Does it sound like he had any kind of long history with this person as I read this, okay? The way this article reads, remember this is the Washington Post. Obama posted a letter that bakery owner Brian Noyes had written to him in January. In the letter, Noyes describes leaving his job as the art director of the Smithsonian Magazine. Previously, he was the art director of the Washington Post to start the small company in rural Virginia. Just as the recession was kicking in, investors fled, and the economy faltered, but Noyes said he felt obligated to the employees he had hired and the farmers who had added special crops to supply him. I followed the news closely, listening to you and your team work to keep the economy afloat, and I put my faith in your plans and positive attitude, he wrote. Noyes described for the president as a flourishing enterprise today. He's up to 47 employees and has just opened a second location. I'm glad we hung on, he wrote, and he invited the president to come in and see how things have worked out. Does this sound like this guy knew the president before 2016, before this letter? Noyes says he never dreamed he would get more than a form letter response. So he was surprised when an employee told him a few weeks after sending the letter that a White House staffer had stopped by the bakery on the Friday before Valentine's Day weekend with a hand-delivered letter from the president. I was like, what? Noyes recalled? So he's starstruck by the president. So the implication here, the inference here, is that he never knew the president before this, okay? Let's keep this going because we're going to get to the bombshell. And this is basically the highlight of the show because I'm going to show you beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are basically people, plants, that pretend like they don't know the president or are not involved in Washington. They're under the cover of these pizza shops, pie shops, but they're actually tied into the White House. I'm going to demonstrate that to you in a minute. Alefantis is one of them. 49th most powerful man in Washington. Yet, according to his interview, you would just think he's just a humble pizzeria owner. But nothing could be further from the truth. Visited the White House 5 times. I'm going to show you how Brian Noyes is a fraud as well. Let's keep the story going. And it wasn't even a low-level gopher who couriered the message. It was speechwriter Cody Keenan, who told Noyes later that the personal touch was unusual, but that he had happened to be passing by en route to a weekend with his fiancée at the end at Little Washington. Keenan reported that he'd picked up a pecan pie for the president, a moonshine pie for the White House correspondence team, and a meatloaf sandwich for himself. And before we go on, I forgot to mention to you in this article that this owner had this Chris Summers guy of High Pizza in Washington, D.C., had Obama staffers stay at his house. Okay. You seeing this? All right, let's get back to the story. I'm trying to show you that these pizza and pie shop owners have a much closer relationship to the White House and the president than is normal, right? Okay, let's keep this going. And that's when Noyes said something that he now realizes was pretty gutsy. I told him that the pecan pie was perfectly adequate, but what the president really needed to try was the sweet potato bourbon pecan pie, a newer addition to his shop's lineup that is getting customer raves. I can't believe I said that. That was kind of brazen. So he's basically starstruck by the president, pretending like he never knew him. But I'm going to show you something different. So he delivered the substitute confection along. So you get the point here. Now we go to the visitation records to the White House. This was written in 2016. Put a link in the description or in the chat. Put that in here.
This is really deep.
2016, Brian Noyes, owner of This pie shop in Virginia, which is where all the missing children are. Here are the records in plain sight. Brian Noyes was a regular visitor of the White House going back to 2013. Actually, 2011. He knew the president. He is a liar. Brian J. Noyes visited the White House after Thanksgiving, 2011.
Damn.
Visited the White House again a few days later in 2011. Brian J. Noyes visited the White House again in January 2014. What is it with the winter time with these people? Remember, Jeffrey Epstein visited the White House in January of 2011. We searched his name here. Brian Noyes again. We got 2 entries here for January 15, 2015. And then most recently visited the White House again March 17th of this year. Or around the time that this article, right after this article went up. Brian Noyes knows the president and is much closer to the president than he's admitting in this article.
Yeah.
Let me pop in the chat for a little bit, you guys. I didn't want to be in there too long. I'm going to try to do another live hangout today, later on. These people are lying. They all know each other. Jimmy Comet knows Obama very well. There's much more to these pizzas and pie shops, Philly information exchange, than they're letting on. Let's look in here. I'm looking in the chat. Read through some of what you guys have to say. That video clip of the band that they had was awful. Had a weird mask on their face and the things he was saying. Sleeping Giant says, truth hurts but can't hide. Absolutely. Can't cover up the past. Can't cover up history. That's why hindsight is 2020. Aaron Aronofsky made the movie P.I.E. He's a huge creep. Hey, Mathis, how you doing? Yeah, it might be a movie to look at. I've not seen that movie yet. I've not seen The Life of Pi. Real Sweet says, if we know their names, they're pretty much part of the evil elite. Absolutely. Looking at Limp Biscuit, chocolate starfish and hot dog flavored water. So Invictus says, pastor, sports coaches, pizzeria owners. So Invictus wants me to follow him on Twitter. So Invictus is Merry Christmas. So Invictus' birthday is December 25th. So Invictus looks just like the Statue of Liberty because it is the Statue of Liberty. It is a cross-dressing man that is a symbol of our country. Life of Pi has some MK Ultra connotations. What if there's pizza in the movie? Yeah, the movie looked lame to me. I do like fantasy films, but that one just looks dumb. So I never saw it. He'd be rich in the house. I think they're tied to the guy from Anti-Defamation League. Yeah, there's all kinds of alphabet gangs mentioned in, for instance, the Paedophile information exchange. And this here, I'm going to pop this in here for B. Pop this in the chat. If you could check this out, this Wikipedia page, B. There's all kinds of alphabet gangs, and I know you're real good at connecting that kind of stuff. Yeah, Apollo's the Statue of Liberty. Absolutely, Gary. Eyes to see. But check that out, be a pedophile information exchange, and tell me if, I think the accounts on foreign relations maybe was mentioned in there. I don't know. That's where I get confused on some of that stuff. Try to maybe connect some dots with that. There's much more to this P.I.E. than meets the eye. Check out American Dad Pizza. The always lost moment. Wow. Under Christ, Life of Pi is weird. Let's pull up the, let's see if we can find the script on Life of Pi. I like researching live because then you guys can understand the tools that I use to research. And you guys can research 2012 Life of Pi. Let's pull up the script. Here it is. Now we can do word searches on this, right? So I'm going to do word search. This is the script from Life of Pi. A lot of times before I decode a film, I'll pull up the script and I will word search to see if the film is worth decoding. I don't see pizza mentioned in here. I don't see pie mentioned in the entire movie. But it doesn't mean that there aren't images and visuals of these such things. For instance, in Eyes Wide Shut, the pizza was on the coffee table. If I would have searched the script for that, I would have never found that pizza on the coffee table. So instead, I had watched that film because I just knew there was something in there. And there it was, hiding in plain sight. So let's see what else we have here. Back in the chat with you guys. Now here's the goal of pedophiles. Okay, this is how they think. Watched a film called Hollywood Pedophilia on Kafka Winstonworth's channel. Go check her out. Search the documentary. And basically, what they said in this film, they had some pedophiles in there in the film, was they don't call it grooming, they call it testing and probing. The way they justify is they figure that these young kids are going to be sexually experimenting with each other, and they basically, almost like a pack of wild dogs, they isolate their victim. And they look for signs that this is a sexually charged child. Now, some of you, let's all be honest here. As children, some of us were more sexually charged than others. But we didn't need some adult manipulating us and preying on our weakness as a child. That is the sick part of this, okay? One thing when kids experiment with each other as they're coming into their sexuality, maybe not as traumatic, something we deal with as we get older. We understand that we're children and that's what kids do sometimes. Even that is bad because parents should be watching their children, knowing that this kind of stuff happens. Okay? Your mind is not developed yet. But the way these pedophiles justify this is they believe that they're going to provide the first sexual experience for these children. And they may even treat these children really well, outside of the fact that they're raping them and manipulating their minds and basically ruining them sexually for their entire life. They actually believe they're doing something good. And all of it is driven by lust and basically alternative thinking, giving into fleshly desires. And the children become the target of their affection. Plain and simple. It's a sexual preference. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to legalize this, you guys. This is where all this is headed. And now there's a fringe part of this pedophilia group that hates the children and basically just uses them as like a hunter tracking down, shooting something as a trophy instead of actually utilizing it. These are the hunters, and they basically go out and they get off on torturing these kids. There's that part of it as well. So there's factions of this whole pedophilia thing. It's not just one group. They are all different. So, what do we have here? Well, we have a problem, right? Houston, we have a problem. Because there's cognitive dissonance. No one wants to accept this stuff is going on. And if you can't accept this going on, then nothing's going to be done about it. It's just going to continue to kind of go on in the shadows. I'm mad about Pizzagate too, Mathis. I'm mad that no one's standing up for these children. I'm going to show you what happened the last time we failed at protecting the children. This was the Hampstead sex abuse scandal. Happened, I think it was just last year. And the children gave a 3-hour videotaped, detailed account of what happened. And they described the most horrific things you could ever imagine that happened to them. This is the father. I believe he was the ringleader. Here's the children. This is all since basically this story is now just a memory. Here they are. Look at these two beautiful children. Innocent, forced to do the most horrific things. And we had a group of YouTubers swearing up and down that this was a psyop. What does that do when you say something is a psyop over and over again? It makes people not want to investigate it anymore. And these poor children were not only taken from their mother, who helped record the confession, but they were also given back to the satanic father. Now I'm going to show you some images of this guy, because he was in an interview, just like, let me comment, TV interview. And he came out and said he was wrongly accused, And this guy looked like Satan himself. Wish I could find screenshots of this interview, this television interview. Here it is here. Look at this guy. There he is. Most evil and vile individual. Forcing his children to eat babies, they said. Let's see if we can just structure it good. I want to get some images of this guy, because you can see it in his face. You see it. You can see evil when it's in front of you. You can see it. And this guy's evil. Children describe tattoos of the genitalia on multiple people. Look at him. Look at his eyes. Can't even look at the camera. Why are your children able to describe dildos? Where did they learn this? Where did they learn the exact description of a tattoo on someone's genitalia? Multiple people. How did they know what that would look like if they weren't naked, if that person wasn't naked in front of them?
True.
We failed these kids, you guys. Why? Because a group of YouTubers came out saying this was a psyop. Okay, if it was a psyop, what's the result? What was gained from the psyop if this was a psyop? Did anything change? Any legislation change? No. Did any YouTubers, did anyone attack this guy and kill him so they can put more laws in place to get rid of people spreading fake news? No, nothing happened. You know what happened? These kids got returned to this sick person. That's what happened. These are the bravest souls on this planet. Not only did they come forward on video, they had to relive the entire story to the investigators. They had to retell the story. Investigators failed them. So they were already having guilt that they were forced to kill babies. They said the dad would stick his hand on the knife with their little hand in it to carve the babies. We failed these kids. I'm not going to fail these other kids. I don't care who thinks this is a psyop. I'm not going to fail these children again. We're the only ones that can protect these kids, you guys.
Yep.
I don't care if I have to do it from my living room, thousands of miles away. The least we can do is put some pressure on these people. Make them think twice about what they're doing so they can let these kids go or stop. Maybe 5 pedophiles will stop doing what they're doing. Repent. And that saves 100 children. Maybe they'll start going underground and not do it anymore because they're afraid that they're going to be exposed. These 2 children described all kinds of horrors. They were having guilt about killing babies and eating babies. So not only were they brave enough to stand up to their parents, they were brave enough to take on consequences of what they had done, which was essentially murder. And this is what they felt. These 2 children at this age are already living with the guilt of murdering a baby that they were forced to murder. And we failed them. We failed them, you guys. This is it. How did your kids know this language and verbiage was not a psyop? Now I want you to go back and type in Hampstead sex abuse scandal psyop. I'm going to type it in for you. Because hindsight is always 20/20, right? The people that are consistently on the wrong side of these issues are the ones that you don't need to listen to anymore. Type in Hampstead sex abuse psyop in every single channel. This is war, you guys. Every single channel, they called this a psyop. I can understand if someone called it a psyop once. But to go on and on and on, and then call other people who are trying to expose it a shill, those are the people you need to unsubscribe from. This is war. This is war. This isn't about me. This is about the children. And I'm willing, you guys know that I rarely talk like this about standing up or creating any kind of dissent in between other YouTube channels. I know we have opinions. But if you're going to overlook this and try to justify and let this evil bastard get away with this, you got to be possessed. If these people are carrying any kind of following, and they convinced a bunch of people not to look into this, that hurts us. I hope this live show goes viral so everyone can hear these words. Yes, Karen, it's not a psyop. You're absolutely right. They're playing on our fear and emotion to try to make us think it's a psyop. They're using our own tools against us, you guys. Muscular rock lover says Pizzagate is a controlled diversion to divert away from real news. Okay. So, what are we being diverted away from? Answer me that. As far as I can tell, there's all still headlines. We all get the news from the headlines anyway. How are we being diverted? That's like the lamest excuse I've ever heard. We're being distracted, diverted. Every day I pull up the headlines. It comes from them anyway. If they wanted to divert us from the headlines and distract us, all they need to do is not put it in our news feeds. We have to start using critical thinking, you guys, and stop using these taglines, and stop using these phrases and this thinking that's been given to us. Oh, it's a distraction. Distraction from what? We get all our news from them anyway. Unless you see it with your own eyes. Are they going to distract us from a chemtrail in the sky? We already all know there's chemtrails. What are they distracting us from? What? It doesn't even make sense as an argument. Okay, so how is we being distracted from real pedo rings when all the investigation we're doing is exposing the real pedo rings? No one's focusing on any one pedo ring. We're digging into the whole world of pedophiles. Their code words, we're finding it in movies. This is why I tell people to come to my channel. We're not buying what WikiLeaks is putting down. We're looking outside of that. We're looking at inside films where these movie Hollywood producers are hiding this stuff in plain sight. This is outside of WikiLeaks. This has been going on forever. So to say that well, they're not going after the real pedo rings, that's ridiculous. We're bringing attention to it. And again, every time someone like myself makes a video about this and exposes more stuff, and a pedophile sees it, they're going to start shaking in their boots, especially if we start calling out pizza shops or pedophile rings in a city near you. It's called putting the heat and the fire, the flame under the fire. You got to add a little heat. Okay. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of channels that get off on disagreeing with people. I'm sick of that. They make their name on YouTube by just disagreeing with whatever anyone else is saying. I'll just disagree with it, and then people like the dissenting opinion and view, and then they get views and get people to follow their channel. I'm sick of it. And I'm going to say something about it this morning. I haven't even had my coffee yet, but I'm going to say something about it. So anyway, you guys, hopefully I communicated all that well enough so that you guys will share the video, get the word out. I know it's early. Bombshell, pedophilia, information exchange, Magpie. We're going to look up Magpie on WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks. Magpie. The publication for the pedophilia information exchange. Published all kinds of stuff in that magazine. I'll show you real quick. Magpie. In particular, 5 activists were charged with printing contact advertisements in Magpie, which were calculated to promote indecent acts between adults and children. So they had their own magazine. Others were offered lesser charges of sending indecent material through the mail. But they testified against the 5. These charges related to letters that the accused exchanged detailing various sexual fantasies. It eventually became clear that one person had corresponded with most of the accused, but had not been tried. After the trial, it emerged that there had been a cover-up. Which, go figure that. Mr. Anderson had worked for MI6 and been a high commissioner in Canada. Mr. Henderson was revealed in November 1980 in the magazine Private Eye to be Sir Peter Heyman. In May 1978, according to Magpie, NCCL motions were passed supporting P.I.E.'s rights. An annual meeting went on to condemn attacks against pedophiles and their supporters, saying this AGM condemns the physical and other attacks on those who have discussed or attempted to discuss pedophilia, and reaffirms the NCCL's condemnation of harassment and unlawful attacks on such persons. Spokesman for Harman said P.I.E. had been excluded from NCCL before she became a legal officer. So this is the National Council for Civil Liberties. This was what I was talking to B. Rich about, that he would know how this might fit in. I think that's a pretty big alphabet gang here, NCCL. It also talks here about how the government, British government, allegations against senior politicians, they were getting money from the government. Money funded by the government. Let me find that part. Stuff goes deep, you guys. Let me find that part. Let's type in funded. Evidence that Home Office funded pedophilia group. Review finds. Oh, this says no evidence. But up here, I remember reading that they actually saw that they had funded them. Let's see here. It names all these people part of this pedophilia ring. Goes all the way to the top. Government funding. In March 2014, evidence emerged that P.I.E. had received grants totaling 70,000 francs or pounds from the Home Office after a whistleblower told police he witnessed a successful 3-year grant renewal application for 35,000 pounds in 1980, implying that a similar grant had been made in 1977. Pedophilia International Exchange was funded by the government. This stuff is real. Now let's look for Magpie and WikiLeaks. We're going to get off here, you guys. I need some coffee. Magpie comes up. I never know what I'm going to find when we do these live shows. As some of you have experienced some of our past live shows, we've found some bombshell information doing this on the fly. So there's 72 results. Let's start this. Best emails has one. In the Clinton emails, let's see which one it is. What he says about Magpie. From Sandler Foundation to John Podesta, Thinking in Democracy. Brown of the News Hour. So for my iPad, begin forwarded a message. Tell my wife Paula. Just search the page. I feel like reading through all this. Magpie. Looks like it's in the attached. It's not showing up here. Attachments. Drinking Democracy, whatever this is. Application, open formats, open document. So it's inside this document. I don't know what else that could mean, but anyway, probably nothing. Eurasian magpie nests are strung like beads. all we have, you guys, for today. Like I said, I may go live again. I'm trying to provide some encouragement for you guys, and maybe we'll just end the show with that today and cancel the show later today. The live show I was going to do with you guys later was talking about where to find hope. So we're just going to cover that now and cancel the show later, because I'm a human being and I got to take breaks from this stuff too. Oh, thanks, Sabine. It's becoming institutionalized through the education system, which is, thank you for mentioning that. I think you read my mind, because part of P.I.E. was education, right? It's unbelievable. On the 19th of July, 2015, Australia's 60 Minutes broadcast an investigation of an alleged pedophile ring into which abused children were supplied by one of the P.I.E. founders, Peter Wrighton, who was also a former director of education in the National Institute for Social Work and a legal aid to the Thatcher government. These people are hiding in plain sight. They are part of the people that come and take your kids if you're not behaving. Child Protective Services. They're directors of these places. Many of the missing and exploited children that I found on the website, let's pull that up. Missing, exploited children. Let's put it in Virginia. Disproportionate amount of missing and exploited children in Virginia, which neighbors Washington, D.C. The trend in these images that you're about to see. That a very large proportion of these children were institutionalized. How could I tell they were institutionalized? Because behind them, you saw like some kind of, place where they send kids who are disruptive, rowdy, whatever, like a kid's prison. You'll see in a disproportionately, here's one here, amount of these kids, they're institutionalized. See this? Okay, I want you to focus on this door. I want you to look at that door, and you're going to see this door appear over and over again. This is creepy. They're institutionalized in these homes. They're like foster. These kids, they don't have a parent that loves them. They're in the system. There's Ronaldo, Alvarado, Amilcar. That's one. It's going. That's one. Let's count them. These are all the missing kids. Many of these kids don't have pictures. I also noticed that many kids with no pictures are white children. Why wouldn't they show us the white children that are missing? So at least 3 of these kids institutionalized on this page. Keep scrolling down. Maybe they remove them. Keep it going. There's another one. That's 2. See the same background there? That's institutionalized. Nagur, Gamali, Figueroa, Herrera. Institutionalized. Where'd he go? That's 2. So at least 2 more. Scroll down here. All these missing kids in Virginia. This is just Virginia. This almost looks like this kid could be institutionalized. It looks like maybe a mugshot photo as well. When they're put in the institution, he's standing up against like a wall. This looks like it could be one here. But there are some more with this same door and window frame behind them. Found 2, maybe 4 so far. Give these kids a minute of our time. Observe this, you guys. Here's another one. Hervé Lutini Loa Ramirez. See the background? It's the same. It's not a classroom background. That's security glass. That's an institution. So that we have like 4 or 5 so far. There's another one. See the background? There's actually the cell number on there. 115. Let's say his name. Let's give some respect to this child. He's a child. Arturo H. Velasquez Lucas. So we have 6 or 7 so far. Institutionalized children missing. Where did they go? Did they all run away? No. Disappeared. They're missing. Now, here's the problem with this. Now that we revealed this, if this site were to go viral, if this video were to go viral, and everyone would see these patterns, of course, the powers that be would see this information as well. And guess what they would do? They would either not list those children anymore. Believe me, they're all directors, you guys. They're directors, as I just showed you, leading this stuff. If they start to be exposed, they're going to start hiding. This is why it's so important that people stop calling this a psyop and do their darn research before all the information gets scrubbed. And then it's going to be harder and harder to out these people because they're going to figure out exactly how to hide more effectively. I just showed you 6 to 10 children that were institutionalized in the state of Virginia that went missing in the care of the state. How did they go missing? Who are these children? What happened to them? That is the question. You guys still there? Someone says, did Casey take a break? Did I lose you guys? No, I'm here. You guys can. I think you guys can see the screen. Maybe someone was playing catch up and watching and saw when I muted it for a minute. Anyway, you guys, back to some encouragement. Once you begin to understand that the Bible's real, that there is a Molech, and that people do sacrifice their children in the fire, people do eat children. Once you understand the Bible's real, then you also understand that there is a Savior who is coming to eternally put the people that do all these bad things into the fire. Let me make sure that we're still connected. We're still connected, you guys. Give me a shout out, let me know. Some people are saying that they can't see. Just give me a quick shout out in the chat. Before I continue here. Guys, if you're okay, thanks, Brooke. If you see your message in the chat, then you're not blocked, okay? You wouldn't even be able to see the message in the chat if you were blocked. So let's round out the show, you guys, and understand that when we do see pure and true evil, and we see these people's fascination with basically pissing off the Creator, this is what they're fascinated with. Let's get down to the bottom of this. They do this to piss off the Creator. Then it should strengthen our faith. Our focus in this reality, in this life, should be finding the corners of this reality that give us hope, aside from exposing evil. Instead of focusing on consumerism, material possessions, career, new things, politics. You know, what I mean by politics is, I'm not talking about not exposing it. I'm talking about getting on the side of a candidate and rah, 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 and putting up signs in people's yards and bashing the other side. Instead of being focused on all these things, we should be focused on the things of heaven. Got my puppy here, licking my hand as I'm doing this show. Every morning greets me with a smile, love. These are the things we need to be focused on. Enjoying the sound of birds is when you wake up in the morning and chirping. This is what will give you the strength to fight evil. Believe me, when it's all said and done, is Jesus going to say, I never knew you? Or is he going to say, wise and faithful servant? What did Jesus do at this time? He fought evil. How did he fight evil? He did exorcisms, cast out demons. What do we do on this channel? We do exorcisms. We cast out demons. We call people to account to what they're doing. We say, leave our reality. We don't want you here. We don't want you corrupting and killing our children. I follow the example of my Creator. People keep telling me, try to be more encouraging. I try, you guys, but I've been given a job to do. I'm only part of the body of Christ. Only part of it. And that is the part that is, I'm an attack dog for God. I try to do it as humbly as I can, but I'm also not going to shy away or be afraid of the truth. And you need to know it. Because only with the truth are you going to be able to have the tools to have a closer relationship with Christ. And as bad as all this is, it actually draws you closer to Christ. Closer. Because you realize that he's the only hope to fix this. Aside from saving a few children, giving them a chance not to have to go through this, which could end up stealing their salvation, because as they grow up, they believe that the world is an unfair place and that there is no God, and if there was a God, he wouldn't allow the children to go through this. And this is how these Satanists steal souls from heaven. They perpetrate these acts on people. The people are so broken, they get hooked on drugs and alcohol. They never recover. They end up hating God because they figure that if there was a God, that he would have never allowed that to happen to them. And here's the bottom line. I was one of those kids. I was not molested, but I was abused. And I was terrified by demons in my sleep at a very young age. And I asked the questions of God when I got older. How could you allow this to happen to a child? And that could have cost me my salvation, because I could have never recovered. I could have lived my whole life hooked on drugs or alcohol. I could have become a homosexual. I could have done all kinds of weird things. And I did do some things that I'm not proud of in my former life. But then there's a chance for redemption. And the least we can do is give these kids a chance. A chance to not have to go through these things, a chance to see the world in a brighter light so they can feel the warmth of God, instead of right out the gate having them have to experience all the horrors of Satan himself. That is what we're dealing with here, you guys. We have to protect the children. And I'll never stop talking about pedophilia. Ever. Luckily, God found me. He found me before. Like, as I was asking the question, how could this happen? He explained it to me. You were born into a dimension of hell, basically. You're born into a world that Satan rules. The quicker that you realize that, the quicker you understand this is all temporary, and the quicker that you can keep your eyes fixed on heaven and begin living your life to copy Jesus' example and wait it out and enjoy life as it comes, I will bless you with the things that really matter. And that's what he's done. He's blessed me with the things that really matter. Not the world standards, not the riches, not fame, not all of the empty things of the material realm. He's blessed me with the things that matter. Plain and simple. It gives me hope to carry on, and to he whom more is given, more is expected. So therefore, when I'm given shout outs to all of you who've been part of my life. You know, this is a tough life. I know some of you personally that are in the chat. You guys have been through a lot. I had a chance to meet some of you. And life is like a merry-go-round. There's a reason why we come into each other's paths. Even though some of those paths aren't permanent, there's a reason for it. Everything is a learning experience. Bouncing off of each other, trying to get to a closer relationship with God, to find the truth, to be better people. We're not always perfect at it, but we try. That's what this is about. I know those of you in the chat aren't out molesting children or raping women or whatever, but there's always an opportunity to be a better person. Always. Even myself. Always a chance to be a better person. I think the pinnacle of it is being an activist. Once your life is in balance, help other people. Not by judging them, but by calling out things for what you see. It's not the person usually, it's the choices they're making, and it's them allowing the enemy into their heart and mind to manipulate and control them. You gotta ask yourself, what in your life is allowing you to be manipulated and controlled? What is it? Is it money? Is it a relationship? Is it fear? How is the devil doing this? How is he controlling you? How is he not allowing you to conquer the sin in your life? What vices is he using? And this is where we got to be honest with ourselves. If there's something that's leading you into sin, you have to cut it off. I had to be honest with myself. Years ago, I used to drink a lot of vodka. And every time I drink vodka, my spirit would come down. My defenses, my thinking was altered after a certain point, to where, I would start having lust in my heart and things like that. I had to come to terms with that. I don't drink vodka anymore. But that's what it used to do to me. And I'm just sharing this with you guys because I'm a real person, okay, with real challenges, real experiences. There are also people that can come into your life that can cause you to sin. Either they're a bad influence, And it's a tug of war. It's a love-hate relationship. They might be the closest people to you that always pick up the phone, care about you, but then they lead you into different roads. You got to be careful with that. If a person is bringing out your bipolar nature, that might not be a healthy relationship. At least until you can be strong enough to stand on your own. I know it's a fight, you guys. I know it is. I've been struggling with it my entire life. Remember when I was a kid, I was a Jehovah's Witness. And by day, I was a Jehovah's Witness. By night, I was a heathen, gang member, alcoholic, thief. Started in middle school. And yeah, I had good friends. They were fun. Always had my back. But the bottom line was, because I was a, by night, alcoholic, thief, gang member, womanizer. Didn't really, I was chasing, well, let's put it that way, in high school. I didn't. So that was my life by night. I'd sneak out my window Saturday night, be out till just before the sun came up. If you can imagine that, because I'm always falling asleep now, right? And be out all night, steal a couple car stereos, beat a couple people up, get drunk, steal a bike so I could get home because I was all the way across town. Go into someone's backyard, steal a bike, ride it home, sneak back in my window. Someone would come up, time to go to church. Duality. That's duality world, you guys. Some of us struggle because we have more of that bad blood in us, where we struggle with that duality. But Christ is the one who could actually deliver you from that. He really can, you guys. He did it for me. And it's not to say that these thoughts don't ever come in my head again, but you have control over them. They don't rule you. They're not your God anymore. You don't give in to it. Because you realize the road you've been on and all the blessings that God has provided for you, and all the times He's delivered you from issues, and you live in His light. You start choosing people around you that can help you with your fight, who are on the same page. Religion never saves anyone. Jesus is the one. Absolutely, Chaz. The religion is the evil, bastardized version of your relationship with God. They have a broker, the God broker. That's your pastor. He's the one that makes you feel good about your relationship with God. He tells you what you want to hear, so you keep coming back. He's the God broker. He's like a bank. He's the God banker. That's what a pastor is. You don't need a pastor to get close to God. He's all around you. All you need is to understand your weaknesses and understand that you can't do it alone, and understand that sin is all around you. And if you don't have the tools, and if you don't have the help from the Almighty God, then you will probably fail. You will surely die, which is what God told Eve. So what do we do if the pastor is the God broker, and he tells you what you want to hear, so you keep coming back and keep putting money in the plate and keep showing up to the club so they can keep the doors open? You have a weak moment, and in that weak moment, you admit exactly what you need, what is missing in your heart. That is how this works, and that's how it worked for me. Had it all. Many of you have heard my story many times about being pharmaceutical sales, working for the devil himself, poisoning thousands of people with antidepressants, Xanax, morphine, you name it. I had it. I worked for Bayer Healthcare, one of the biggest drug companies in the world. I worked for Organon, a smaller drug company. I don't hide from my identity. You